Good. We're on Kufiyat Aleph. That's 111A. Right at the top. Okay, yesterday we learned that Abaya. Good morning. Abaya sends Rav Safra. When he goes to Eretz Yisrael, he should find out what to do with a liver. He comes back. He says that he met Reb Zrika. Reb Zrika said that I cooked the liver for Rabbi and he ate it. Abaya says, I know that the liver itself doesn't become aser. I was asking about if the liver makes the other meat that's in the pot aser. So Rabbi says, if you knew that the liver doesn't become aser, how did you know that? You knew that because you knew the Mishnah, or the Bais and Trumas. So that same source also tells us that the other meat does become aser. She says, no. That source isn't necessarily that the other meat becomes aser from the blood. That source is saying that if the liver wasn't kosher, then it would make the other meat not kosher because of the fat that's in it, the flavor that comes out of the liver.
The liver is salted like other.
Okay, so that's
cooking.
A good point. Taisvis here. Taisvis Kavda Mayatun Bey. This big Taisvis on the page before, over there. This big Taisvis brings two possibilities of what the Gemara's, what Abaya's question is. Oh, very nice. Now we can find everything. Oh boy. So, Rabbi Natam's first option is we're talking about Abaya's question was a liver that wasn't salted. And Rabbi Natam is asking. Rabbi Natam is explaining that the liver is blood. If you're allowed to eat the liver, that means you're allowed to eat the blood of the liver, because the whole liver is just blood. So really, the blood of the liver shouldn't be forbidden. So Bai is asking, without salting, without anything, just cook the liver. Now, when the blood goes out. So just like human blood, if someone has blood in his gums, like coming onto his teeth or something, if he doesn't see it, he's allowed to swallow it. It's only you take a bite, you take it out, you see it's on the bread, it's on the something. That you're not allowed to do. So that becomes forbidden, rabbinically. So Rabbi Natam is explaining Abaya's question. What about the blood from the liver after it comes out and it goes into the other meat? Is that considered a problem? But really we're not salting the liver, we're not roasting it, we're just cooking it in a pot. That's Rabbi Natam's pshat. Then he gives another pshat, Vaydi Shleimar. I don't know if you look, you go down, you see Vaydi Shleimar. It's Vaydi Shleimar bin Menachem. The B'lei Malicha Pshita Dasa. That Abaya's question is that we're salting it. We are salting it. And we're asking, the liver has so much blood, but does the salt help? Tosfos doesn't like this pshat. He doesn't like it because the Gemara is going to bring questions on Abaya that are going to show us that it's aser. I mean, the meat is aser, or other things are forbidden. Once we're dealing with a limitation here of the only reason why it's permissible is because it's salted, we can always answer any of those questions by saying, oh, that one wasn't salted. So Tosfos wants to learn, Rabbi Natam wants to learn that it's kosher across the board, and that all the questions are going to be real questions. It should never be forbidden. However, Tosfos in Kavda, down over here, this Tosfos, Kavda, he's going to ask on Rabbi Natam. The Gemara is not going to fit with Rabbi Natam later. But meanwhile, we're questioning that maybe the blood of the liver should be permissible. So we start on the top.
Yeah, we see the very last line here.
Rabbi Alphas?
Yeah.
Rabbi Alphas. Yeah.
That's how many.
Yeah, I want to look at that at the end.
That's how many.
Right. We'll look at that at the end. Ki hadar salik, on the top line. When he comes back up to Eretz Yisrael, salik means it goes up. Ashkechela Rab Zrika. So he finds Rab Zrika this is Reb Safra is going to Eretz Yisrael, and a mission from Abaya, or at least he has a message from Abaya, a question. Amalei, he says to him, Hainam Elei Tibalach. That also is not a question, Reb Zrika says. Dana, the Yanai Breder Rabami, Yanai was the name, Yanai the son of Rabami, Iklan Lebei Yehuda Breder Reb Shimon ben Pazi. They went to the house of, or they chanced upon, the house of Yehuda, the son of Reb Shimon ben Pazi. That's what we have here. So we have, I don't see Reb Zrika, but, and I don't have Reb Safra either. But we have Abaya. I have Reb Shimon ben Pazi over here, right near the center. We don't have his son there, but now we know that he has a son by the name of Yehuda. And we do have Reb Ami right next to him, and we know that Reb Ami has a son Yanai. That we just learned now. Okay.
This isn't
So-
the famous Yanai, is it?
No, that was a king in the Chashmonai times, right? Alexander Yanai or Shleimus, right? Was there another Yanai? Was there
I didn't know.
Yanai? Yeah. Okay. The Karibalon, and they brought to us Kanya Bekupia Vachalna. They brought to us a windpipe together with the organs that are attached to it, which is the lungs and the liver that are attached to the windpipe. I saw in this translation that it's called a pluck, when you take the windpipe with all of the organs that would be attached to it. It has the same letters as pei, the kupa, and just without the L. And we ate it. Obviously, it doesn't make the other meat forbidden. Okay, we have an answer to Abaya's question. Of does the other meat get forbidden from the blood of the liver? Maskefla Ravashi. Ravashi asks, V'temer Reb Shmuel Nizrukinya. He says, how was that a good proof? V'dilma pikana chutz l'kdei rahava. Here you have a windpipe. We're concerned that maybe the blood is going into the other meat, from the blood from the liver is going to the other meat. But here you have a windpipe. It's possible to take the windpipe, the end of it, put it outside. I don't know if you have to siphon it. Maybe with the heat it would automatically boil, go out through the pipe, and the blood is not actually going into the other meat. It's draining outside because you put the pipe outside. Inami, but we have another option. Michlat habichalat le'mikara. Could be, what is the word from chalat, from michlat? What it is you take boiling water and you like sear it in, like is that what it's called when you sear? Maybe you seared in all the juices by putting it into something very hot, boiling already. And we've given an example for this. That ki hada Rav Huna chalti le b'chala, Rav Nachman chalti le b'reitchen. Rav Huna would sear it in using vinegar. Rashi over here has a French word, astringent. He says the vinegar shrinks it. I read that. I said, it sounds like astringent. Now I looked it up, astringent, in Google. What's that amount? It's exactly the same. Because stringent means to tighten. It comes from to string or something. It has so the astringent actually shrinks it. I would have worn my other kapata. So Rav Huna would put it into an astringent. He'd put it into vinegar to shrink it so that the blood wouldn't come out.
Just boiling vinegar.
I didn't realize that. Is that what he says, boiling vinegar?
Yeah.
That's a chiddush to me. I never realized that. I didn't realize that. Who does he say that says that?
Rav Huna's.
No, do you have
Oh, it
do you have the
says-
word boiling?
They say vinegar or boiling.
Or boiling water. The next one was boiling. And Reb Nachman says chalti le bereitchen. Reb Nachman would put it into boiling water to also to sear it in. The way, if you want to remember, Reb Nachman has the word cham in it. So okay. So it's
Is
very
that going to be on a midterm?
it's very possible that that Reb Chaim is not here. He likes Reb Nachman. So, it's very possible that the blood was not leaving the liver in the pot. We have all these other options. Either it was seared in, or the windpipe was hanging out of the pot. Okay. Joshua Kufyat Aleph, Amud Aleph, and we're up to the Savar of Papa. It's about 9 lines down. The first word on line is Bereitchen. See that? The Savar of Papa Kamei Rava Lemeimar. Rav Papa thought to say, he thought in front of Rava, that means he said this in front of Rava. Rav Papa is the student of Rava here, he's in the center. Rava is right above him. So, that chala aser, if you sear it in the vinegar, then the vinegar becomes forbidden. You're putting a liver into the vinegar without salting, according to Rabbi Menachem, we're dealing without salting. The vinegars, because the blood from the liver is going to go into the vinegar. Amalei, Rava says, ichala aser, if the vinegar is forbidden to use afterwards, you would reuse everything you could, right? So, iyunami aser, then the liver should also be forbidden. Why? Because the blood goes into the vinegar, it goes back into the liver. And why were we saying that the liver is permissible? Because the blood never left. But once the blood leaves, that's our whole question. It should make the other meat forbidden. And now if it's going to go back, it's going to be a problem. Why? Because kihechi the palat, the same way it comes out, it also will get reabsorbed. We were trying to say that when you sear it in, it doesn't come out. That's Rava's claim. When you sear it in with the vinegar, it doesn't come out at all. So that's why the vinegar should be permissible. Okay, Rav Bar Shava, Ikla Lebei Rav Nachman. I don't have any other information about Rav Bar Shava except for this story, although he's probably in other places. So he happened to be in the house of Rav Nachman. We have Rav Nachman again. Did we have Rav Nachman yesterday as well? Yesterday we had Rav Chizda. Okay, so Rav Bar Shava comes to the house of Rav Nachman. Eily kav the shlika. They bring him a roast, boiled liver. Shalak means boiled, a boiled liver. But he doesn't want to eat. Amrulei. They say to Rav Nachman that bar beirav de lagav layachal. Bar beirav is an expression for a yeshiva bacher. There's a bar beirav. A bar is it could mean son of, it also means like eligible or someone that's fit, like a bar mitzvah. Someone that a bar beirav. Beirav is the house of the teacher. So there's a yeshiva bacher that's inside, that's not eating. So Umanu, and who is it? Rav Bar Shava. It's Rav, the son of Shva. Amar Lahu, so Rav Nachman says to them, Amar Lahu Rav Nachman says, Gamul Shva. Gamul Shva means stuff it into Shva's mouth. He's calling him by his father's name. He must have known the father, and he's like criticizing the son that he's being so frum. He doesn't want to eat this boiled liver. Now the Gemara says Ketanai. Taisvis over here mentions that even though Rav Nachman said a minute ago that you have to sear in the blood before you start this, you have to sear it in with hot water, Rav Nachman said. He said, here we're not talking about that. He says, here we're talking about that he boiled it without searing it in. And how did he do that? There's a problem. The blood's going to go out. It's going to make everything forbidden. Taisva says Rav Nachman wasn't concerned about anything else being forbidden because there was nothing else in the pot, and Rav Nachman, for whatever reason, wasn't concerned about the pot either. Maybe he would kasher it or whatever. He wasn't concerned about anything.
What about when we just learned that it goes back in?
Oh, that's an interesting problem. So it must be that the liver itself, based on what we explained from Rabbi Menachem, that the liver itself, because the liver is entirely blood, so there's an assumption here that maybe the blood itself doesn't make the liver forbidden, because you can never get all the blood out of the liver. and nevertheless you're allowed to eat liver. So our only question is the blood going into other meat that make other things prohibited?
What would be the point of searing it to hold the blood in?
So that when you cook it with other meats, it doesn't go out.
But why cook it with other meat?
If you can do it, just do it alone.
No, cook it with other meat. It's still got the blood in it.
Right.
So you're cooking it for the flavor. That has to be the only reason, right? You can't eat the liver, as I understand.
No,
this
you're going to eat the
Gemara.
liver.
Even though you're sealing the blood in.
Yeah. Here we're saying that the blood of the liver is permissible.
So it's the opposite of what we do today in
yeah,
halacha.
Yeah.
Today we broil it?
You probably only
Yeah,
had
we'll
one
see.
pot.
When we get to the end, we're going to have
So
a
they had to do
hilchasa,
it-
which is
they had one pot.
which is,
They did
pretty good.
Today we can
Oh, I know.
Okay, Tosfos proof that we're not dealing with sealing it in is from the Gemara that goes on. It says Ketanai. That exactly this discussion between Rav Nachman and Rav Varshava is a much earlier machlekes. Now, if they sealed it in, then it's not going to fit because the earlier machlekes wasn't discussing if it was sealed in, it was seared. So Rabbi Eliezer Reimer, Rabbi Eliezer says, Rabbi Eliezer, whenever the Mishnah says Rabbi Eliezer, it's always Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenes. It's Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenes. Yeah, he's on the other chart. Rabbi Eliezer Agadol. Rabbi Eliezer says, HaKaved Eiseres ve'ina ne'aseres. The kavod makes other things forbidden, but it itself doesn't become forbidden. V'pnei shepeletes ve'ina belas. He says because it spits out the flavor, but it doesn't reabsorb it. Rabbi Shmuel ben Eishel Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika Aimer. Let's see if he's on the chart. Yeah, he's right here on the chart. No, I have Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika and I have Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha right under him. This is confusing. You see on this chart, it says Rabbi Shmuel, but we're discussing Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika, which is not. That's a confusing little piece. Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika, says mituveles eiseres v'neaseres. If it's spiced, so then the spices soften up the texture of the liver, then it can make forbidden and it will also become forbidden because it will reabsorb. And the same applies to shaluka. If it's boiled, eiseres v'neaseres, it will become forbidden because when it boils, it softens and it will reabsorb the blood. And that's why Rav Barshva wasn't eating. Rav Nachman held, like Rabbi Eliezer, that it only makes other things forbidden and there was nothing else in the pot, so that you could eat. And Rav Barshva held like this, Rabbi Shmuel ben Eishel Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika. Okay, Rabba bar Rav Huna ikla lebei Rabba bar Rav Nachman. I have Rav Huna here and I have Rav Nachman here. The children, Rabba bar Rav Huna is not on the chart, and Rabba bar Rav Nachman is also not on the chart. Okay, so yesterday we had Rav Nachman because we discussed Yalta. We discussed the famous his wife, Rav Nachman's wife. Right. Okay. So Rabba bar Rav Huna is at the house of Rabba bar Rav Nachman. They brought to him 3 saw smeared with oil and honey. Tachoy just means smeared. Rashi says it's with oil and honey. It's 3 saw of flour. It must be some sort of dough, cake, bread that has this topping on it. Amalahu, he says to them, Miyadisu dasina. Did you know that I was coming? Like, how did you know I was coming? Amrlei, miyadifaslan mina diksiv akrasal Shabbos heinig. Are you any better than what it says in the pasuk that you should call to the Shabbos a delight? That means that we prepared for Shabbos. We weren't preparing for you better than for Shabbos. So, okay. So adahachi, but while he's there, ashkach ahu kavda, he finds that there's this liver, the habi basim paina de bli adama. It has the artery that is filled with blood. Which what would that be? The liver.
I'm trying to think of the name.
Is it the vena cava? Is that go, that
No,
doesn't go
no.
to the liver?
In the cover goes everywhere, but the branch that's in there, I can't think of the name.
Hepatic.
Hepatic artery, he got it.
What is it?
Hepatic.
The
Hepatic?
liver artery.
Hepatic.
Hepatic.
Hepatic means
Hepatic,
liver.
the blood.
Yeah, like hepatitis.
Is the liver.
Yeah. That's the name.
Uh-huh.
Thanks.
Okay. And
That's
it's
nice.
and it's filled with blood. Amalahu, thank you. Amayav disuhachi. He tells to them. Rabbi Bar Rav Huna says to Rabbi Bar Rav Nachman's family. He says, "Why are you doing this?" Amalei, they said to him, "Elahechin avitz, how should we do it?" Amalu, he says, "You have to cut it in a crisscross, vertically and horizontally, and then." You have to tear it like that, and then you cut it on the bottom to allow all the blood to drip out. Rashi says, when you roast it, the blood drips out. But that's for the liver. But when it comes to the spleen, that's just fat. Just like Shmuel, on the day that he would do bloodletting, they would feed him a stew that was made out of spleen.
That sounds so weird because the spleen just sequesters red blood cells. I mean, it's totally blood. That's the danger of getting in a rib fracture on the lower rib fracture that cuts the spleen. The person could bleed to death. So it just sounds really strange. Yeah, the liver filters blood, but the spleen is full of blood. It's even more blood. Strange.
What is its purpose?
To filter
To
filters
clean the blood?
the
To clean
old
the
blood
blood?
cells. Yeah.
To make it drain out.
That's why people with sickle cell disease, they end up getting an autosplenectomy. They got so much messed up red blood cells, they keep on sickling, that they clog up their own spleen eventually, unfortunately, and they got no spleen.
6'10"?
I don't have an answer.
Here it says the halacha is that although the spleen has a reddish appearance and appears to be full of blood, its halachic status is like that of any other meat, and it's permitted for consumption through salting alone. The Rambam. Shulchan Aruch.
Okay, Itmar. It was stated by Amirayim. Kavdi lo yibisr shari. We're talking about roasting the meat, and if you're roasting on a spit, so the way they would do it is they had a spit that was smaller on one end, that was wider on the. So they would just put it on so it would get held by the fatter part, right? So the one side you could poke easier, so you just put it on. So when they would do that, so that you wouldn't turn it over like this, it would fall off. So they would put it like this. So if you have the liver on the top, it's permissible. The blood's going to flow through the meat. It's not a problem because dama mishak sharik. The blood, mishak sharik, it flows off. It's like slippery. It just flows off. Kachla, ilu yibisra. But
I think you skipped. Did you say this thing about Avdilei Tav Shila, the Tachli, the Yoma, the Aved Milsa?
we said that was on the day that he did bloodletting.
Oh, okay.
He would have a spleen stew.
Sorry, my brain stew.
So now we said that that you're allowed to have the liver on the top, even though there's so much blood. It's not a problem because the blood is just going to slip right through the meat. However, the udder, here we have a real problem. The udder has milk in it. If you put that on top of the meat, that's going to be aser. My timer. Cholav sruchi misrach. Sruchi misrach means that it's going to get like caught. It's going to get caught in the meat. And the milk is going to get caught in the meat. Rav Dimi Minardoi Masni Yabcha. Rav Dimi Minardoi taught this teaching the opposite. Kach leilu yibisra shari. If you have the milk, the udder on top of the meat, that's not a problem. My time chalav shchuta derabanan. When you extract milk after an animal is shechted already, the milk that's left inside the ducts of the udder is only rabbinically forbidden. That's not a problem if it drips onto the meat. Kavdeilu yibisra. That's a bigger problem if the liver is on top of the meat. That's usr, because dam daraisa. The blood is forbidden biblically. Okay, so now we're getting a real chumrah here. Let's go a little further before we look up the halacha. Darash Mareimar. Mareimar is... Here's Mareimar. Towards the end of the Talmudic period.
When did they extract the milk before the shecht?
Well, in this case, they didn't extract the milk. They shechted the animal. They took off the udder and they put it on top. There's still milk in there.
We were talking about whether it's
Yesterday we were discussing
whether it's
why.
whether it absorbs.
Yeah, I was watching it at the beach. I just want to give you the answer. The lining of the heart, which is called the endothelium. There's three parts of the heart: the myocardiac, whatever the muscle. There's the sac on the outside, the pericardial sac.
Uh-huh.
And the inside is called the endothelium.
Uh-huh.
Right? The endothelium, the lining, think of it as wax paper. It's
Uh-huh.
the same endothelium that's inside blood vessels. Blood goes through blood vessels. They don't stick to,
Right.
most of the time
It's
they
not
don't
supposed
go
to
in
leak
and
out.
stick in it, right?
Uh-huh.
They just keep on going. That same lining also lines the heart. That therefore,
What is it called?
endo meaning in endothelium. You
Thelium.
find that endo in other organs in the body.
Okay.
It's always the inside, and it's usually slippery.
Okay.
At least for
In the
this-
Gemara we said it was Shia. That was Shia meant
Thank
that it
you.
was.
I
It doesn't
remember
absorb.
you-
We're discussing the heart yesterday. Okay, Darish Mareimar taught. Hilchasa. The halacha is bein kavda bein kachla. Whether you have a liver, whether you have an udder. Tusi bisra shari. If it's under the other meat, that's permissible. Giluya bisra. If it's on top of the other meat, the yevedin lechatchila loy. But the yeved it's kosher, but lechatchila you shouldn't do that. Rashi says in the Rashi Hilchasa, he says that our spits are not the way they made it in the olden days, and therefore we twist it like this, we twist it like that. So you should never roast it together because you'll end up putting it on top or on the bottom.
Well, our spits would be okay because we tend to put them horizontally.
Yeah, but there's also that concern that you may turn it over.
It turns.
Does it?
People usually.
No, but if it turns
Yeah,
this
but
way,
the-
that's not a problem. Turning it that way would be a problem because it would end up on top or on bottom, which we don't want.
When you go to the pita places, to verticals.
Right, right. So that's how they would do it in the
shawarma.
olden
That's
days.
like the
Yeah,
shawarma.
shawarma.
That's this problem.
Okay, so
There goes your shawarma.
Is this similar to Taco Baba?
tell me again.
Is this similar to Taco Baba?
No, it's not Tatagavar. Tatagavar has to do with heat rising, at least according to most opinions.
Yeah, that's one of the exceptions for Rabbi.
Right. In the Rif, if you have a big Gemara, it's on page 78 in the back in the Rif to make it worthwhile if you schlepped it.
78 and
The Rif looks like the Gemara. It's just they extracted the Rif extracted all the conversation and all of that, and he just puts the conclusions of the Gemara. And the commentary on here is really commentary on the Gemara. It's just they happened to write it on the Rif. So, but he says that they sent from the Masifta, Shadrumi Masifta. You see that? They sent from the yeshivas. I guess it means the Babylonian yeshivas. He was in Morocco, right? Al-Fasi, Fez. That nowadays we don't know how to do chalita, so we can't do the searing of it. And Safik Yisur L'chumra, we're not allowed to eat liver that's cooked unless it was first roasted, and then you cook it afterwards. But if you cook it first, that's going to be Asr B'chein Minig B'chol Yisrael. That's the custom amongst all Jews that we roast the liver if you want to cook it afterwards. And okay, probably based on that is where we have our halachas. Ravashi, and the second to the bottom line. Ravashi ikla lebei Rami baraba chamua. This is very interesting. I didn't know Ravashi's father-in-law's name. Ravashi goes to his father-in-law's house, Rami Barabba. And Chazia Lebreda Rami Barabba, he sees the son of Rami Barabba, which is his son-in-law, doesn't give us which is his brother-in-law, right? Doesn't give us his name. Dika Shapid Kavli Lo Yibisra. That he was putting on the spit the liver over the meat. Amar Kamar Yor Haimir Rabbanan, how haughty is this rabbi? Eimad Amar Rabbanan Diavad. Maybe the rabbi said, or the rabbis have said this only after the fact. But lechatchila miyamar, is he lechatchila allowed to put the liver on top? It's going to roast. So much blood of the liver is going to drip into the meat. Okay. Now he says v'ika beidugi. If there is a beidugi is a what collects the grease underneath the roasted
Grease pan.
a grease pan, and they would use it because they wanted the grease as well. It wasn't just the way we like get rid of it. They would want the grease. The problem is there may also be blood in it. So bisrei lo yakab denami yaser. Even if the meat is above the liver, it's also aser.
Are you allowed to have hana'ah from grease that has blood in it?
Oh, so that's what we're discussing here. It could be that it could separate. It could separate. So here we're saying that if even this you can't have, if there's the blood of the liver in there, you can't have that. The Gemara says, "Ma'ishnami dama de bisra." How come you're allowed to get the grease if it's just regular meat? You're allowed to take the grease. It says, "Dama de bisra shachin." The blood of the meat will sink to the bottom, and the grease will float on the top. Dama de kav de coffee, but the blood of the liver also floats to the top. I don't have an explanation for it, but any explanation for that?
Say that again.
The blood of the meat
Blood of the liver.
will sink to the bottom in the grease pan. The blood of the liver will hang out on the top as well.
Maybe because there's so much grease in one that it creates a seal and the blood can never get up to the top, whereas the liver has very little grease and therefore the blood can right away just go up
Maybe.
to the top.
Maybe
Just
it
a
doesn't
guess.
sound like that's
I don't know.
an interesting way of explaining it. It doesn't sound like that but it could be.
I'm thinking in my chicken soup, there's always the schmaltz on top. You got to
Right.
spoon off.
Oh, man, it's a very nice play. We're saying wrong.
Did they salt this meat or they just
What?
roasted it straight?
Interesting way to
Did they salt it or they just roasted it straight?
Here they're roasting it.
Straight.
We have this chumrah that malicha letzli. Remember that you just sprinkle the drop.
Yeah.
But
covered.
okay, Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Shmuel. Rav Nachman says the name of Shmuel. Rav Nachman is very important.